So, throughout the semester, if you have watched these videos regularly, you've seen the same format, right? A pithy greeting like this, followed by a funny gif that may or may not be appropriate for what I'm saying, or funny to you, due to the fact that my brain is kind of wired differently than most. Once you see that, and I say something about it, I move to the weekly announcement to remind you that, yes, there is always a weekly announcement, and here it is. Again, we start off with the due date. The due date is Sunday, July 21st. There is no late, okay? I have it right here. The semester is over with at that exact second, which means anything later than that will be a 0, okay? No extensions, no excuses, no exceptions. So I have all of this, and then we have the video, and the video chapter listing, and what to review for the week, and what to submit for the week. Here are 2 attachments that you have to go and take a look at, okay? But anyway, after I'm done that, we continue back and go to the masterclass schedule down here on the right-hand side, view course schedule, click on the link, and we scroll all the way down to week 10. There it is. So here we are, and you know, that's kind of how everything works, right? And notice, semester ends on Sunday, July 21st. Wait. Hi, how you doing? So I decided to do it this way this week because it's the last week and you have an oral presentation due. And I'm hoping that you are brave enough to step out from behind the camera and kind of show your face, because we're already going to be listening to your voice. So it's going to be a little bit easier to see and kind of see how it connects. So in order for us to do that, I kind of decided to show you my little area here. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to go over this week, and I'm not going to get bogged down in it because a lot of it's there for you to take a look at. But I think I can do better just kind of explaining it as we go along. So, you ready? First, please note that once again, your material is due on Sunday, July 21st, 2024, by no later than 11:59 p.m. Eastern. I know a lot of you decide that the due dates don't really matter to you. This one does. It completely and totally matters. If you get it in late, it's a 0 because the semester is over with at Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, July 21st. There is no late work the day after or the day after that. This date was decided on by people who make a lot more money than I do, have more meetings than I do, and like to tell me what to do. To say that I had literally no say in this should be quite obvious. I am literally giving you until the very last second to submit this, so please, don't try and turn it in late, okay? The course will be closed and the grades will be 0s. End of discussion. So again, why the camera? Well, for the final presentation, we will definitely be listening to your voice because you have to have a voiceover. However, I would really like it, especially since you're an online class, if you would turn your video on, maybe have it up in the little corner of the screen like there, or maybe over here. But that way we get to see your face, we get to see who you are, and that's a wonderful thing because online classes are very difficult to match up personalities. And I'd like to kind of know and see who you are at the time. In order to do that, make sure that you are framing, your camera correctly, but I'll get to that later. So, yeah, it's purely your choice. You don't have to have your video on. I would prefer it, but you're not gonna, fail if you don't. You will have to have a voiceover, however. If you don't have a voiceover, you will lose a lot of points. So, that's why I have my camera on to kind of show you that it's okay. I moved a few things. You can see some of the kids' toys in the background. Whatever. But, okay? In good shape? Good. So, what are you going to be presenting? Well, we kind of started discussing it last week, but let me tell you that it is a smart idea to look through the announcement that I sent this weekend, which would be... Did I already delete it? I think I might have. Oh, well, never mind. So... the announcement that I sent out this week that I showed you at the beginning of this video, and go back through the presentation page to see the requirements. Regardless, remember that you need to have 5 to 8 minutes of speech in there. It must feature visuals of some sort, most likely PowerPoint or Google Slides or Canva or Prezi or other equivalent software. It must hit on the 5 bulleted points brought up in the requirements. Again, that's back here, the required speech overview. So if we open that up, you can see here that the 5 bullet points are right here. Boom, 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 boom. And all that material. But that was there from last week. So you can go look in the week 9 and right there. But let's focus on week 10, shall we? It must illustrate the scope of your research that you did for your paper. You're not reading your research paper. You're presenting the high points. So now that we've discussed that, let's go through the promised PowerPoint sample I talked about last week. Now I'm going to go through the sample twice for a reason. The first time, I'm just showing you what it looks like as a presentation. The second time, I want to put the hood up and kind of show you the engine, okay? So I promise, the first spin through will only be a couple of minutes, whereas the second time through will be a little bit more specific. So this is our title slide, okay? We have the title of your presentation or your paper and the presentation, doesn't matter. I mean, that you can repeat. And then your name goes here. Now, if you are a geek like me, you know that Kevin Mitnick was one of the world's foremost hackers, which is why I put it there. But if I had William Christopher here and William Christopher down here, it gets confusing. But your name goes here, then English Department, Delaware Technical and Community College, English 102, Composition 2, not 1, that's a typo. And my name here, okay? So boom, 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 boom. That's what the title page looks like. Next page, we start off. Notice I have a visual over here, and I picked a design outline that is colorful and kind of reminds me of a circuit board with all these lines and circles, okay? The text isn't... I gotta fix this because it's a little bit smaller than I anticipated. It looks much better on a big screen in front of a classroom, but on a computer, especially when you're looking at it through a YouTube link, it's very, very small. But here we have, you know, what is the importance of the international oversight? I'm basically telling people the first bullet point, right? Why is it important? So then I go through, and as you can see, I actually have, oh, there we go. I have animations that will bring things up as I am talking about them, okay? So we have different animations, different bullet points, and it's fantastic. Then we go on to the next slide. Why is it so important? And I'm, again, have an image. I usually have an image on every page, and it should link up to what I'm talking about. It's not just, you know, a picture of my dog or a picture of my kids. You know, it's going to be exactly what's supposed to be on that slide. And I'm explaining this, and I'm making stuff up here because my major is criminal justice. I was an English major, obviously. And then, you know, why is it so important? I've detailed it, and I'm talking over it. Then down here, what did I want to discover? And I'm going through, and you see the text is very small again. Not a very smart idea on my part. There we go. So I've listed all this out, the things I wanted to get out of my paper. And again, we have our wonderful image over here that shows us, you know, the lock being shot, the cybersecurity breaking down. What do I think? Well, this is my thesis statement, my thesis slide, okay? So I'm showing you that because hacking is a big problem, we should have a multinational consortium on solving this issue and prosecuting it. Then we get into my claims, basically. What is the research recap, okay? Now I'm bringing it up. And notice, here I'm actually citing things now. I'm bringing up my direct quotes, I'm bringing up my paraphrases, and I've got my citations right here. So anytime you directly quote something or paraphrase it, you need to cite it on the slide, just like this, okay? Then we get into the idea here, okay, it's my second claim and my third claim over here. We have boom, 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 we have citations here, and this is my own because there's no citation, okay? We get into, oh, this is the counter-argument, I'm sorry. Counter-argument, and then the rebuttal, we have kind of the background as to why the counter-argument is incorrect. Notice I didn't cite anything on this page because I didn't bring anything up that was new. And then the interesting results of my research. By the way, this is one of my absolute favorite movies from the 90s. It's terribly dated, but I loved it, and the soundtrack was phenomenal. And yes, this is a very young Angelina Jolie, and her first husband, by the way. He was awesome. Johnny Lee Miller, if you saw Trainspotting, he was in that too. He was also Sherlock on Elementary on CBS. So we have the interesting results of my research, and this is my favorite slide because it shows me what you got out of this. It wasn't just a paper for you. There's something that you learned. Okay, so that was interesting. And then our overall, again, bring it up. This is what we kind of got out of it. And then we bring up the all-important any questions slide. Okay, you might want to put your email address on here or whatever in case somebody has a question. Hardly anybody ever does. And then we have the references. Only use the references that you used within the presentation itself. Do not add all 7 references from your research paper if you only use 2 of them, okay? I tended to use 6. And once you're done, you're done. Okay, so now this is what the whole file looks like underneath. And one of the things I really wanted to show you is, hold on, let me do this. I'm going to move you up. Whoop. Okay, good. If you look down at the bottom of my slide, you'll see the notes page. So if you go into, I believe it's View, and there's Notes, you can toggle it on and off. So if you open up mine and you do not see the slides with the notes on it, just go to View and then click Notes, and you'll be able to see my explanation of what each slide does. Again, on the opening slide, the student should establish a title as well as their own identity, which is your name, as well as the relevant institution, class, and instructor. Institution, class, instructor. In the presentation, this is where you would introduce yourselves to the class. Hi, everybody. My name is John, and I will be presenting to you today on cyberbullying. Okay, this is kind of the introduction to that. Next slide, it's going to be the establishing the topic as a whole, giving a snapshot of the overall topic and where it's going, okay? And you can put this in here, and hold on, let me open you up. Picture format, you can actually choose different ideas here, and it'll give you presentation tips on how to do things and how to put them in, so that would work as well. On this slide, it's where, and I'm giving you 2 things on each notes. The first line is basically what goes on the slide. The second slide is what you should do about this in the presentation, okay? So here it's establish your ethos. Remember, ethos, pathos, logos. Ethos is your credibility. Why are you somebody that can talk about this, okay? Maybe it's your major. Maybe it's what you did for a living. Maybe it's what your parents do. I don't know. The presentation, this is where you're going to verbalize that and sound secure in who you are. Then we go down to here, which is now the minimum of 3 research questions. And you are going to be creating an overall understanding of how everything works. Kind of, okay, here are the questions and why was it important? Here's in question, why was it important? And so forth. What I think is going to be your thesis statement, okay? It's going to be that. It's going to be presenting exactly why you picked this topic and what you hoped to argue. Then we get into the argument itself. We have our 3 claims. I had, I think, 4 or 5. But we have our claims. We have our citations. Anytime you cite, make sure it's in there as a citation. And we still have, okay, so I had 4. There we go. And I still had more. As you can see, continuation of the previous slide. So my notes down here continue on to the next page. And then we get into the counter argument. This will be where the student fairly illustrates the counter argument to the original argument, okay? And again, if you're going to have citations, perfect. Just make sure that they're there. Rebuttals, same thing, continuation. All of these are going to be the research recap argument. Here are the first 3 and the 4th argument claims. Here are my 2 counter-argument points, and here are my 2 rebuttal points. So this whole section kind of goes together in the presentation. Then we get into the interesting results of my research. Wow your audience. Tell them what you found that you didn't expect to find, or something that you expected that you didn't see. Okay? Those really do help out. Overall, you're going to tie it up. It's basically your conclusion slide, kind of give that sense of closure. And then the any questions slide. Again, you might want to add your, email or whatever. Again, not too many people actually contact you. And then we have our references. Only use the references of the material that you use within the presentation. Okay? So that's kind of it. I mean, it's helpful. It's worthwhile. I hope you download it and look at it, because otherwise I'll be able to tell when I'm looking at your presentation. All right? Excellent. All right, so as we move through that presentation, you kind of want to use that first page that we reviewed last week, and I showed you again today, which is the argumentative speech overview. Remind yourself of the necessary bullet points that you have to hit. Now, as you can see in mine, I kind of mixed and matched them, which is fine, as long as they're there and in a certain type of order, but you don't have to give me like bullet point 1, bullet point 2. It's ridiculous. So, I put a few on this slide, a few on the next slide, and I kind of went back and forth. All right. So, let's start moving through these very quickly. They're not going to take you very long. So, clicking on keeping your speech moving, transition signposts. Honestly, most of you have been speaking for many decades now. So, you're going to be understanding of what's going on. The transitional word chart might help you to give an idea of where to go next, rather than saying and then, and then, and then, and then. So you have all these different transition words, which are great. Signposts to kind of show you first, second, and third, and moving forward. But this page is helpful for English as a second language learners, because it kind of shows you the nuances of how to move through the English language. For those of you who grew up speaking English, most of this is going to be common sense to you, because we are used to it. We don't think about it, we just do it, okay? It would be the same thing if I went over and tried to give a speech in French. I could learn the language, but I wouldn't know the idioms and the idiosyncrasies of speaking that language until I've done it for a very long time, okay? Citing sources in a speech, it's the same thing, okay? It's really the same exact thing. If you use it, if it's totally not your idea, you must cite it now and forever. So, I mean, you can look at these boxes and see how they pop up. And these are kind of how to verbally cite them in your paper. So instead of saying, an article I found online which doesn't tell me anything, you can say, in the May 16th, 2021 article entitled, Vaccination Cards Become Golden Tickets, New York Times reporter Jennifer Stein, and then boom, there we go. We have author, we have year, we have where it came from. It's wonderful and perfect, okay? Now, I don't necessarily use anything citable until my 6th slide, but you can see that I have those in-text citations in there, so anyone with questions can verify my information. Once I start with that, you know I'm working with my argument and counter-argument, so the source material is very necessary. Notice that the images I have on each slide really worked appropriately, and I don't overwhelm my audience with a barrage of those pictures. So that's very helpful as well. Going back again, we have conclusions matter. And this is kind of how to tie everything up. I've told a few of you, you need to have that sense of closure. You need to tie things up. And you can restate the thesis. I don't like that. I like echoing your thesis. Don't give me the exact same thing. Kind of paraphrase yourself. Review your main points again. Kind of bring up what you already hit your audience with and why they should remember that. And then give me a good concluding device, Give me an idea of a shocking example or a really good quote. That would work too. And here are all the different concluding devices that you can use. Oh, good, they fixed it. One of these didn't work. I think it was concluding with a quotation. A challenge. What do you want your audience to know, to see, or to do? That's helpful. Conclude with a question. Ask them a hypothetical, theoretical question so they get to think about your topic even after they've hit stop. Okay? Appeal for action. Again, know, see, do. Concluding with a question. Didn't we just do a quotation up here and then a question? There we go. Quotation. Then I'll do that here since I already talked about the question. The quotation would be a luminary, a famous person that says something that really makes sense, okay? This is where you actually use that quotation. Maybe you want to propose a solution to the problem. Or, reference the audience. What would you do in your real life, okay? All of that works as well. Does all that make sense? If not, go back, rewind it, review it. If it still doesn't make sense, email me as soon as possible so I can help. Do not wait until Sunday the 21st or Saturday the 20th or even Friday the 19th. You've got a lot of work to do. Developing presentation skills might actually be pretty helpful for those of you who are absolutely terrified of speaking in public. So if once you click on there, you can kind of look through the videos that are going to help you. Honestly, the more that you do it, the better you'll get. And the first time I spoke in front of a class, I was terrified. I was sweating. I was stammering. I had to actually take a break to go put water on my face. But now, as you can tell, I'm at over 20 minutes. You can't shut me up, okay? So these videos will probably help you. Effective visual aids. This is going to be kind of helpful. It'll show you that you kind of need to consider your purpose. Avoiding death by PowerPoint. It's something to say. There was a comedian who did this. He wasn't it. And as you go through, make sure that you're understanding what's happening with the slides at the time, okay? So if you're going to use an image, make sure the image matches to what you're talking about. Make sure that you are going through and giving an appropriate image. Again, like last week when I said if you're going to be writing about, repeat DUI offenders, do not put a bloody DUI accident on the page. It will completely turn everybody off. Understand that while you are talking to adults, you don't want to put quote-unquote adult content on the page because that's inappropriate as well, okay? It's offensive to some people. So understand exactly what you have to put on there. And you can use effective visual aids, and we're going to go over this page next. But PowerPoint presentation, if you need help with that, that'll help as well, okay? Going back, we have our last page, which honestly I think many of you will find to be very, very helpful. It's using technology to present information, okay? And it's really fantastic. I do all of my videos through Screencast-O-Matic, and I actually bought the yearly subscription, which means no watermark and longer videos. You don't need to do that. You just need a 5 to 8 minute video, which will be perfect. You can also use PowerPoint's new recording technology, so you may not even need Screencast-O-Matic to make you feel better. Look to these tutorials here to help you, though. So here, the visual presentation, if you want to use PowerPoint here, you can go into this and look at here. Google Slides, it'll show you here how to do that. It's a set of programs that you have access to for free. Down here, the presentation software, you can use PowerPoint or Google Slides. There are slides that are embedded into both of these that you can look at, which are great. And then down here for images and sound, these are all free. They're all Creative Commons, which means you don't really have to cite them. So you can go into any of these and get your images if you want. Really, the images that you have to cite are photographs that are copyrighted and statistics and charts, okay? Those have to be cited. Screencasting, again, I think mine is now called ScreenPal. It used to be Screencast-O-Matic. But there are a few of these that you can use, including iPad screen reporting for you Apple people, okay? And then once you share it, just upload it to YouTube. That's what I do every week, okay? All of these will work very nicely, no problems, and just make sure that you understand that you need to record your presentation. Yes. Yes, yes. You must record your presentation. I have had people do their presentations and then email me saying, I never recorded it. Well, you got to do it again then. Record it, upload it, I need to see it. And now, my friends, we have the two final things to review. The Unit 3 argument paper and the Unit 4 argument presentation. So, here are this week's final submissions. Right over here, week 10 all the way over. Due on Sunday, July 21st. The semester ends on Sunday, July 21st. So when you click on that, it'll come up. It should tell you, it's not going to tell you here because this is the teacher view, but it should tell you when it's due, Sunday, July 21st. And you're going to have 7 to 8 pages, 7 to 8 full pages with a minimum of 7 sources, not 6. Okay, it's got to be 7. Can I update this here in line? Oh, I can. Perfect. There we go. 7 sources, because remember, 2 in Unit 1, 2 in Unit 2, 3 in Unit 3, okay? Make sure that you follow the directions and sample. Structure and content is right down here. We've talked about it ad nauseum. It's got to be 12-point Times New Roman, 1-inch margins all around, okay? And again, if you want to look at a better sample, I have my sample and directions attached again to this week's announcement. Here are all the directions. And then down here, starting on page 3 or page 1 of the paper, we actually have the sample. If you look at this sample and follow the instructions above, you shouldn't lose any points on your actual paper in terms of formatting. The title goes here. Then we have our section headers. For some reason, people keep forgetting the section headers. Don't do that. Spell out what the sections are. You're in great shape if you do that. You can see it pop up really easily. And then remember that your conclusion ends. Then you have all this space until you get to a references page. Do not start the references right below the conclusion. Put a page break in there. And if the references go to a separate page or a second page, that's fine too. So please make sure that you follow that sample. This is 25% of your final grade, okay? Okay. Now, going back to the schedule, we have our Unit 4 oral multimedia presentation. So clicking on that will show you the 5 to 8 minute presentation. It's got to be on your research paper. You're not going to read your research paper. Look at that sample that we went over, and it looked like this, remember? This one here. Perfect. And structure and content. You're going to need to hit these 5 points here. It's got to be 6 to 8 content slides. It's got to be 5 to 8 minutes in length. You've got to record at least your voice so I can hear you presenting. But I would prefer to see that little window up here with your lovely face in it, okay? It would be fantastic and wonderful, and just get it done. And that's it, 102ers. It was a speedy semester, and you've made it to the end. For those of you who aren't going to be taking English 122 or 124, this is the end of your English journey. If you are taking 122 or 124, I don't teach it. So you're in luck. For many of you, I offer a sincere thanks for all the time that you spent this semester trying your best. Those of you who put in a whole lot of effort into your submissions, it made my life easier. Better papers are easy to grade after all. Basically, folks, if you put in the work, you'll reap the rewards. If you just treated the summer as an annoyance that didn't really matter to you, well, you're going to see that in your final grade as well. In either case, have a great summer, good luck in your future classes, and I can't wait to see each and every one of you cross the stage at graduation. See ya.